Hello there and welcome to another live chapter reading for Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Today I shall be reading from Wild Vamp, Jaded Vamp Book 2 by L.D. Wosar. Chapter 1. Casey, Santa Barbara 2030. Your Highness, one of the guards ran into Dominic's office without an announcement. I sighed heavily, crossing my arms over my chest. I wish you'd stop calling me that. Just because I've been married to a man who deems himself a king for a decade doesn't make me a queen. So what's this all about? The fear in the guard's eyes was evident, though unusual since this man was normally like a statue and as personable as a rock. There's a breach in security. This was one heavily guarded estate, yet over the last couple of years I've heard breach of security more times than I care to. A lot of the time it was a false alarm, usually punk kids trying to climb the fence or some animal. The heat sensors were through on the roof, so I don't think it's an animal or human. I rushed past the guard with only one thought in my mind, looking for my 10-year-old son, but the guard was on my heels. Report. Well, Casey, we've reason to believe it may be one of Panathos' members this time. I stopped moving. This was a name I had not heard in years. But it all made sense now. After half a dozen of our coven members had gone missing over the last 6 months. We believe he may be in the area, not sure. We haven't seen Pantheos, however. His hybrids have been spotted. I closed my eyes and nodded. Where's Dominic? I peered over my shoulder, raising my brows when seeing the dumbfounded look in the guard's eyes. I cleared my throat to get his attention. Where is my husband? I'm sorry He stopped talking when I held up my hand, reaching into my back pocket with the other. Siri, call Dominic. I love how lazy technology has made people, vampires included. It's fine with me. I am as lazy as they come for the most part, until I am given reason to be motivated. This was a good reason to be motivated. Hello, Luz, do you miss me already? Crap, I forgot that he had to fly to Italy for business matters. Admittedly, I'm a hot mess when I don't have Dominic here to keep me centred. The line is on the prowl at the estate. It was a code we agreed upon to use with one another when the threat of Pantheos would ever hit close to home. We'd heard he was making his rounds around the United States, making promises to the weaker vampire communities of a better life. We're the undead, so how can you promise a better life than an eternal one? It wasn't so much a better life he was promising, it was a stronger army, an army of lichen vampire hybrids. My understanding was the numbers are tallied to about 500 hybrids now. 500 hybrids. That was a substantial army. An army that Dominic was so certain we could beat since vampires were extraordinarily strong and fast, not to mention fierce warriors. Besides ensuring my son is in a safe place, I want to dig around in Pantheos' head to see how he is able to persuade so many vampires. Is he some kind of charmer who was massively persuasive? Or did he use other means to lure more into his army? I want to know his secret to see if I can use it on some of those coven members who still have yet to take me seriously as their leader when Dominic is away. Can't we talk about this later? I'm getting ready to go to bed before I am no longer existent. Silly me for thinking I can rely on my husband's advice. It was already 6 a.m. over in Rome. I wasn't irritated so much as that he left me hanging. I was more irritated at not thinking. I love you, Casey. You know what to do. Just one word of advice. Don't even think to approach Pantheos. Wait a minute, Dominic. Do you take me for a weak-minded fool that's going to fall for his powers of persuasion? I could hear Dominic curse under his breath. No, that's not what I meant. He's got power in numbers and you're not expendable to me. That pissed me off since I never considered any of our coven members to be expendable. Good night, Dominic. I'll figure something out. I disconnected the call and turned to face the guard. Get as many soldiers as you can muster. I want 2 at every entrance, and they need to be alert since these creatures are not to be taken lightly, even though it's rumoured they are strong and fast. So are we. He nodded and ran past me to rally the troops, while I was walking 2 doors down to Maverick's room to see him chatting with Liam. Mummy! Little Maverick yelled as he flew off the bed and into my arms. He wasn't little. He was tall for a 10-year-old, so it was safe to say he'd end up towering over me in the next couple of years. Well, good morning, sunshine. Why don't you go with Amorosa and Liam tonight? They're taking the Wednesday group farther south to feed. Maverick embraced me so tightly I couldn't breathe. I'm going to miss those bear hugs when he gets older. Why don't you clean yourself up and get ready to go? I need to speak to Liam. I waited until the bathroom door was closed. We've got hybrids on the property and I fear Pantheos is with them. We weren't forewarned about this, Liam said calmly, though I could see the hysterics in his amber eyes. Dominic couldn't pick a worse time to travel. Well, he's not here, so all we can do is gear up for a bit of a skirmish. As much as I don't want to send my officers out with Mav, they aren't any good until they're fed. I paged through him. Dominic told me not to approach Pantheos. I find this insulting. I think what he meant was you'd kill Pantheos without questions asked. Dominic and I have spoken about this. Just based on what other covens have stated, Pantheos may be working for someone else, they just have no idea who. We've also come to the conclusion that he can break through even those with minds of steel like yours. I shrugged, feeling a bit arrogant. I could be the exception to their theory. Casey has persuaded a few leaders whose will is just as formidable as yours. That's what Dominic meant. We can't afford to lose you. We need Pantheos alive. For now. What the fuck? What are you and Dominic thinking? Don't you think that if we kill Pantheos now it would cause a ripple effect? I asked, and judging by the discontent on Liam's face, he was becoming annoyed with me. I felt I had to undermine Dominic's authority in this, since he left me with no choice. Liam gripped my arms gently. The upheaval in his eyes shifted to concern. I'm not disagreeing with you. Yet it could cause a ripple effect, in our opinion, would make this worse. His army is growing, ours is diminishing, and who's to say the hybrids won't rebel against us and make matters worse, because you think killing Pantheos will exterminate this hybrid infestation? I groaned, falling back onto the bed. Casey, perhaps you should go with us to feed also. It is one way of keeping you safe. I shook my head. No, I fed last night, and my place is here to protect the coven. Please take my son and don't let him out of your sight. The moment Maverick walked out of the bathroom, the horror in his blue-green eyes was alarming. I wasn't thinking about his super vampire hearing when I was having this discussion with Liam. Mummy, we're not going to die, are we? Maverick asked me with a shaky voice. I knelt down to his level. No one is going to die today, baby. You go with Uncle Liam and Aunt Emarosa. You'll be safe with them. I'm going to stay here and take care of some bad guys. As I stood up, I kissed the top of his head and walked up to Liam, placing a hand on his cheek. Promise me nothing will happen to him. You worry too much, Casey. We got this. Liam's tone was snarky, giving me the feeling that he didn't appreciate my worry and concern for my flesh and blood safety. As I stormed out of the room, I screamed, letting out my frustration as I felt I could do nothing. All I wanted to do was kill Pantheos, to weaken our visitors and end this travesty before it got worse. But no, I was deemed too valuable, and these vampires, namely my husband and Liam, were too easy on our enemies. The downside to being married to a man who'd rather negotiate than kill. Chapter 2. Pantheos. My mission was nearly complete as I stood at the gates of the Melite Coven estate in the lovely city of Santa Barbara, California. The illustrious modern Gothic estate was home to Dominic Belluomo, the most respected yet feared vampire alive, so I'd been told. I've yet to be face to face with this man, much less his equally barbarous wife, Casey. Heard she was as much a looker as her husband, all traits that ticked the boxes of the perfect hybrids. How are we going to get in with the gates closed? One of my lackeys asked, apparently one of my not-so-intelligent lackeys, for that matter. You can jump, can't you? My delivery was calm. It usually was, as I was not one to raise my voice unless I had to. I instructed the small cluster of hybrids not to destroy property, to proceed cautiously. I wanted to surprise the Melite Coven and take them when they were at their most vulnerable. Actually, it was nothing I wanted to do, really. My boss wanted them alive. She wanted their blood with the idea Belluomo blood would enhance the existing hybrids' abilities, as well as make for one untamed, brutish army. She did promise me the world if I did as she commanded. Let's hope she follows through. But I have every desire to execute her and take her position. I want to be known as a god of hybrids, and killing Claudia Mandra, the queen of cunts, would be the sweetest reward. Of course, being part of a Belluomo sandwich would be a bonus. It was interesting to me that Claudia wanted an army of vampire and lichen hybrids, yet both she and I were vampire and witch hybrids. When I suggested that to her, she put her foot down, fearing the hybrids could overtake us, and if our powers were split 100 different ways, we'd be useless. Our army would be weak. I mean, she had a good point, since I'm not too keen on sharing the abilities I was born with. She only enhanced that by making me into a vampire. Confusing? Yes, so I wish not to dwell on that. Ezra, I called my humble advisor over. Please lure them somehow and have the coven members meet in the front. He started to walk around me. Wait a moment, I've not finished. Placing my hand on the locked gate, a bright green glow covered and unlocked it. The groan from the not-so-bright hybrid was expected. If he wasn't one of my best members, I'd kill him in an instant. One of those members better be Casey Belluomo or Dominic. Getting both would be a perk, but I didn't expect that. If I can persuade her first, then the rest of the coven members will definitely follow suit without hesitation. With all due respect, Pantheos, I've no idea what she looks like. None of us do. She's a mystery to us all. We don't even believe there is such a person in existence. For all we know, perhaps it was something Dominic made up to keep the target off himself. As tempted I was to turn this weasel of an advisor into the actual animal, I had to remain cool-headed at the moment. Don't be daft, Ezra. You're looking for a stunning girl, platinum blonde hair, baby blue eyes, and an attitude the size of Texas. So I've been told. I chuckled, just envisioning this little girl beating the crap out of my hybrids and winning, although I much prefer to see her head on a platter. One less Belluomo to worry about. Turning on the balls of my feet, I held one up. The first row go with Ezra to gather at least 20 coven members. We can start off small for now. We only have so much room in the bus. The rest of you will wait here with me. I have to admit that stealing vampires through Europe was a fun task, but not in Italy because I had been banned from the country. Yet over the last 5 years it was becoming more a chore, and not once had Claudia shown me any appreciation. It was instilled in my brain to get Belluomo blood. I don't know what the big deal is. Do they have blood made from the finest rubies or blood diamonds? She never told me the significance of Belluomo blood, and I never questioned her about it. I was only doing this now to escape a beheading. Claudia must think she's been generous allowing me to live. The greedy man was not satisfied with only the air in his lungs. I wanted more. I wanted her position, and as I said before, I wanted to be a god. A half hour later, Ezra did as he was instructed, and as he walked out to the vast yards, he was followed by 20 or more vampires. I scanned the group to see a couple of blonde women, but only one with the desired platinum. I fanned out my hands, making the vampires part without having to speak a word. I surveyed the girl, thin, though somewhat petite in stature, blue eyes with the fury I expected from Casey. This girl was indeed attractive, but not the radiant beauty as I was told. I wasn't thoroughly impressed, however, she was fuckable. Are you the one they call Casey Belluomo? I purred, sliding a finger down her cheek, only for her to twitch her head away from my touch. Once again, the attitude I expected. Yes, I am Casey Belluomo, the girl said with so much bravura. She certainly had me convinced until another vampire girl tapped her on the arm, asking what she was doing. It is my duty to sacrifice myself before my coven members, so mind your own fucking business. You are a mouthy one, Miss Belluomo. Are we going to have any trouble from you? I leaned in close, boring her eyes with mine. Are you willing to join me and to become more powerful than even your own husband? The fury waned from her eyes, now void of any emotion. I expected more of a fight from you from the stories I'd heard. I need freedom from my overbearing husband, and this is the perfect opportunity to escape his tight hold on me. She bowed her head. It would be my honour to join you in waging war against the Melite Coven. Very well, I responded, very satisfied with the notion that I was not only able to please my master, but one step closer to taking her reign. I had Casey Belluomo, the only one we needed based on her reputation, although I was disappointed at the same time that she was too easy to persuade. I swallowed the lump in my throat at the thought that this was a trap. When least expecting it, she'd come to her senses and kill all of us. Rather than ponder on the inevitable future, I'd take matters into my own hands and change this esteemed prisoner of mine, now, as opposed to waiting until we got back to France. Snapping my fingers, two of my guards gripped her arms on my command as I pulled 2 syringes from my pocket. I want to use Casey Belluomo as an example of what you all have to look forward to once we reach our destination. I held the syringes in front of the girl. In my right hand is lichen venom. In my left, a hybrid serum mixed with vampire venom. The squirming made it a challenge to get the needles near her arms. She was strong. I had to give her that. However, I was stronger and penetrated the needles into each arm and watched as she collapsed, convulsing and writhing, while listening to her cries of agony. This is normal. She is going through the change, and within moments she will be even stronger and faster than she was before. The girl was on her hands and knees, with her back arched, screaming when her spinal column rippled up her back. The cracking of bone in her legs and arms was daunting to some, yet pleasing to my ears as her appendages transformed into the shape of a dog's. Holding her head to the air, her beautiful face became elongated as her mouth and nose deviated into a canine snout. The howl she let out was a cry for help. I was accustomed hearing to such woe from a newborn hybrid. I looked out and never had to shift into such a beast. However, this was a pain that the hybrids immediately forget once they reap the rewards of being a formidable creature of darkness. Once the torture was over, Casey rose to stand 2 feet taller than me. Are you ready to conquer the world as my most commendable soldier? Casey gave me a single nod and looked at the others, who all scattered while hissing, No, 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 they are not your enemies. They will be fellow soldiers such as yourself. Men, take Mrs. Belluomo to the truck and lock her up while I take care of these others. Using my hybrid vampire warlock magic, I raised my hands, rendering a light mist that lingered over the remaining vampires, before I lowered my hands, watching them all fall in unison. The sleeping mist would only hold for an hour, so this had to be quick. Men, you know the routine. I rubbed my hands together, looking towards the estate. Wait until you come home to find your wife gone, King Belluomo. No sooner had my members taken my prisoners, a half-dozen vampires slowly approached me on both sides. I knew this was too easy, but then their death was easy too. As I held both my hands out, releasing silver daggers and laughing as each one burst into flames, I snapped my fingers, dancing the flames, reducing these stupid vampires to ash. I sprinted off the property before I was seen by another soul. My work was done for the night, for the decade even. I had Casey Belluomo in my possession, and she will succumb to my every whim, unless Queen Bitch gets to her first. Thank you for listening to this chapter reading. I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll go check out the book. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.